My name is Nathan Lim, and welcome to the Sports Junkyard. Hello and welcome once again. Thank you so much for joining me. Today in the Junkyard, I have one of New Zealand's most prolific rowers. In 2006, he broke the world record in the under-23 double scull. In 2010, he won the Rowing World Championships, and in 2012 claimed bronze for New Zealand in the London Olympics. His name is Peter Taylor. In this interview, I try to get a grasp not only of his upbringing and his journey, but also what is required of athletes thriving at the absolute pinnacle of their sport. If you need a reminder of just what transpired in London 2012, here are the highlights.
Peter Taylor in the stroke seat and Stormuru in the bow. So for the second time of asking, we get away.
You can see Storm and Peter making good progress against France. They're still trying to roll up alongside the Danish crew who are doing the same with Great Britain. This is the time that the Kiwis want to really close up on Great Britain, and we know that Peter and Storm have a very good finish.
Well, they're going to need that very good finish because Great Britain still looking pretty strong. Certainly they are. New Zealand need to go now. They put a push in now. Peter Taylor has asked, and Stormuru is responding. Denmark going to the lead. Denmark go goal. And Great Britain in second. New Zealand solid in third. But it's going to be a Danish gold medal. Great Britain takes silver, and New Zealand a thoroughly deserved bronze.
Gutsy performance from Peter and Storm. Difficult.
I come from a family of 5 siblings. I'm the second to youngest in that. So I've got 2 older brothers, an older sister and a younger sister. How that eventually played out is that my both brothers were very sporty, outdoorsy guys. And I was the younger brother, always wanting to tag along, always wanted to join in. And I was, being the shorter, smaller, not as fast, not as strong, always kind of was at the bottom of the pile, always kind of getting beaten pretty badly, but was always there to, if one of the brothers couldn't play tennis, I would step in to play tennis. So I'd always kind of looked up to my 2 older brothers and try to get involved in sports with them. And that kind of opened me up to, advance my skill learning quite fast because I was always learning off people who are much better than me, who are much stronger than me, who could hit the ball faster on the tennis court, who could hit do a better serve. And I was always trying to lift my game up to their game. And then it just kind of a continuing effect. I grew up in Eastbourne, Days Bay, which is in Wellington. I'm not too sure. Do you know where Wellington, or where do you live?
I live in East Auckland.
East Auckland, yeah. So it was like a small seaside village on the other side of the harbour in Wellington.
Yeah.
Went to a all private boys' school through my, from 5 years old all the way through to when I went on to secondary school at 13. So I don't know what that is in years or whatever, but it's from J1 to Form 2. I was at all boys school and I just loved being in sport. So we had this attitude at school too that it was all, we had a sports board, a new sport will come into season and you would have like a knockout competition too. So it's, you put your name, said, okay, who wants to enter in this competition? You put your name on a big list, and then a week or 2 weeks later, it gets all drawn out in this knockout competition to find out the eventual winner of that sport and competition. So that opened me up early to competition and winning. So if you kind of add all these factors together, I had like 2 older brothers who love sport and I love sport, just always outside, always playing, always going down to the cricket nets, going for runs, so cross country. I'll try to keep up with my brother's training. That was always kind of happening. We didn't spend too much time inside doing kind of computer games or TV, or we're always kind of outside and to the point where we lived in a place called Days Bay, which was, it's like, you know, an amphitheatre. So our house is up on the hillside, and we'll play tennis down the tennis courts on the waterfront, or we play cricket in the cricket nets at the school ground. So the school was in Days Bay as well. And that, you know, my mum could come out, she would come out to the front deck and yell across the whole bay to tell us that dinner was ready and for us to come back in to stop playing tennis or stop playing cricket or stop jumping off the wharf into the sea, or and we could hear her across the whole bay. So as well as the hundreds of other houses who live in the bay. So yeah, at an early age, I got opened up to competition, got opened up to challenging, you know, so always kind of learning off people who are better than me, and always being the kind of the weakest person or the smallest person in the competition in the team. I tried everything and anything. So, you know, I wasn't just one sport or, you know, a handful of sports. I was across every sport. You know, give me, you know, any sport that got put up on that sports board, I'll try out, or, you know, put my name down, no matter whether it's table tennis, badminton, basketball, anything. I just got involved, and that's what I love to do. So, and I was a good generalist. So I was never amazing at one sport. I was never the top person. I was just a good generalist, you know, pretty good, enjoyed, good at some things here and there, and that was me in my kind of young childhood. I wasn't amazing academically as well. You know, I was kind of like a B plus student too, so it was just kind of middle ground, and that was kind of my upbringing.
So how did you discover rowing?
Got into rowing when I was 13 years old, and it follows kind of much of the same story as prior, where my older brother picked up rowing. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how. He picked up rowing, and he was in his final year at secondary school at a school called Wellington College, and I had just joined in the third form, and they needed somebody to steer the boat, and I was a short, skinny, you know, 50 kg third former, and that was perfect for steering the boat. And as you know, I was like, oh great, you know, how I was a third former in this massive school that was, you know, 1,600 people, you know, completely opposite end of the spectrum to my private boys' school in my little neighbourhood in Days Bay. And here I got the opportunity to hang out with seventh formers, which I thought was pretty cool. And, you know, seventh formers would say hi to me in the grounds, in the school grounds. So I found that pretty cool. So I decided, I would join up with them and hang out with them, and that's how I got into the sport of rowing. And then slowly over the years, I grew slightly bigger, and by the time I went to fifth form, I managed to become big enough, and there were other people who were similar age as me, so 15 years old, who decided to join rowing at Wellington College, and then we started to get some crews together.
So when your brother started rowing and then you were able to get involved through him, was rowing a big sport at Wellington College? Was it like this big deal?
I'm not too sure how much you know about rowing in the terms of sizes of some teams, but when we started off at Wellington College, there was just one person rowing in a single. When my brother joined, there was just five, maybe six people. So there was 5 rowers and me as a coxswain. So yeah, that's how big it was. We were just a small sport that had one coach and a small team, and just enjoyed what we did. And yet all the time during this sport, I was still playing water polo, cricket, rugby, rowing, athletics. You know, I was still doing as many sports as I could. Tennis, you know, rowing is just another one of those sports that filled up my time.
So what was the pull of rowing specifically? Because you said you tried everything. So why did you decide to pursue rowing over cricket or tennis?
It became around the group of people who was my friends and my people I enjoyed hanging out with. And rowing turned out to be this great sport, my hand-eye coordination wasn't great. You know, so hitting a tennis ball, hitting a cricket ball, you know, I could do it. But, you know, there were other kids who were spending hours and hours and hours more time on that discipline than I was. So I was those sports I enjoyed doing, but I wasn't doing great inroads. Rowing was a group of guys and a coach who, we were just a bunch of kids trying to upset people, or like trying to stir the pot, have a bit of a storm and teacup kind of situation where we try to upset the big schools.
Yeah.
So, so if you think of rowing, where's the best places to be rowing in the world? And it's these dead, flat, narrow lakes where there's no wind, no other boats, but you want flat water. So rowing in Wellington has never really taken off, but there is a surprising number of athletes coming from the Wellington region who have actually gone on to higher levels. And there's something about this. If you can withstand a few seasons in Wellington Harbour, then you can take an awful lot of punishment. And you've already gone through a really hard road, hard graft. You've already had that. You haven't had it easy. You haven't the results haven't been given to you by a brand new boat, by everything, having all these resources. You're just a bunch of kids who are, drag themselves out of bed in their own morning, probably drag their parents out of bed in the morning to take them down to rowing. You've been out in the water in a bit of cold southerly, if you do get on the water, or you spend hours upon hours on the rowing machines. Like-minded athletes that were willing to get themselves out of bed that early in the morning, who had to do it on their own accord, and results weren't granted.
So what was it about rowing that made you want to carry on with it? To keep getting up in the morning, going down in the cold, to row in choppy conditions where results aren't granted? What was it about it that made you want to dig deep and really compete?
I kind of like the underdog mentality of trying to forge a new way, trying and break something, trying to create something new. So rowing kind of really grew into that to me. And I also really enjoyed rowing on the aspect that it wasn't just brute strength or brute fitness. It was, you got this kind of power to weight ratio happening where me being a lighter bodied athlete, I wasn't I later grew into, 6'2", but, I wasn't this burly, bustly guy that could jump on the rowing machine and bust out an amazing erg score or lift these big weights. I wasn't this big, powerful guy. But if I could overcome that by being a bit lighter weight in the body and also being technically more efficient, I could beat these bigger guys. And that really kind of attuned to me of this whole, being growing up when I was younger to wanting to beat my brothers who were bigger and stronger guys. And here I was in this situation where I always had the opportunity to race against bigger guys, stronger guys who had said, okay, you got this small white kid and a crew, and then you got this bigger crew, and said, okay, well, it's going to be the bigger crew that wins. And then people get surprised when our crew won, and that really played to me. And kind of thought, well, this is something really quite fun. Quite enjoy upsetting the given or the status quo. And there was a bunch of guys around me who really enjoyed that too, and we just formed a really tight knit family.
So, at what point did you start to realize, hang on, I could make a real go of this sport? Like, was there a point where you started to have some real success or make some rep squads?
So this whole story of, tight-knit family at Wellington College rowing, doing it hard, nothing given to us. By the time I reached my sixth form, it started to become a really tight-knit group. And that there's 4 or 5 of us, probably more, there's probably about 10 of us, but there was kind of like a side group. And so we started to get results. And then in my final year, we got together 4 of us guys, and we took ownership. And it's the whole thing, like, since this is all new breaking ground, we had the opportunity as young adults to take ownership and to take pride and go, okay, well, what do we really want to achieve and how do we achieve it? And so we owned it. We got to the point in 7th form is that we won one of the blue ribbon events at the national championships. So we beat all the Auckland Grammar School, the King's College, the Christ College, Christchurch Boys High School, all these Whanganui Collegiate at my time, these big fancy schools, and a group of Wellington College, 5 guys managed to win this race. And that was like, whoa, shit, okay, that was pretty surreal. And 3 of those rowers in that 4 got selected to trial for New Zealand juniors. That 4th person was myself. I wasn't selected because I was probably, I was the shorter, smaller, skinnier rower out of 3 of them. But, I was still contributing to the boat and I wasn't selected. So that was kind of like, oh, shit, that was my first kind of taste of success, but also failure. Success of, hey, you guys did really well, but you, Peter, are not good enough.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that I kind of went away and go, okay, well, what is rowing? I still love the sport. I still love the people in the sport. And I made a really good group of friends. So what happened was that a few of us from that 4 joined up with some guys from Wanganui. So Wanganui Collegiate had a good 8. There was some guys in that 8 who wanted to keep on rowing. We wanted to keep on rowing. And so I started to go to university at Victoria University here in Wellington. And then in the summer months, I would go up to Wanganui. And so from November, December, January, February, I'll paint houses in Wanganui and train up there with these group of guys. And each year I trialled out to get selected for the New Zealand rowing team. So each year you kind of go through a trial process where you kind of nominate yourself, or your coach nominates you, and you put down your results and you put down your erg score. And then at the end of national championships, they select the trialist squad. I did that for 4 years, and always for 4 years I got told no, I wasn't good enough. And by that time I'd decided to pick up my bags, move to University of Auckland and start rowing out of there, because I kind of started thinking, well, 3 months rowing on Wanganui River was great, but I needed to be trying rowing all year round if I possibly can. So that's when I moved to Auckland to train all year round on the Tamaki estuary at Auckland Rowing Club. And
how old were you then?
I was 21,
Okay.
20 years old.
Eventually, you made the under 23 squad. You broke the world record for the double scull. After that struggle, the success started to really blossom for you, I suppose. Obviously, you were paired with or partnered with Storm Uru, and you competed with him in the Olympics in Beijing and London. So over the years you were together, you were consistent as hell. What was the key, do you think, to that consistency?
So, I mean, I guess how we kind of approach this is like, you know, it's all about like kind of that preparation, like the whole kind of leading into a sporting event. So, you know, we had to get down to 70 kgs. So being 6 foot, you know, Storm and I were both 6'2", and getting down to 70 kgs was a really hard effort for us. So that's got to take planning and preparation and key things. So Storm and I every week would catch up, or go, you know, we loved coffee. So we'd go out for a coffee and we'll get out our book and go, okay, well, what's our key pinnacle event coming up, whether it's a World Cup or World Championships, the Olympics, and then we go, okay, what do we need to address in this week, or you know, and kind of just hold that whole planning out and making sure that we addressed each possible issue and making sure that we're doing it in time that it can be addressed. So, you know, if our Olympic Games had a side wind, you know, predominantly side wind, then we would be able to make sure that we did training in side wind. It's all that's kind of thinking ahead. Living with parents and families and friends was kind of quite key for me, and letting my friends and family know when I'm in this key window this week. I called it a week and said, and I'll go to them, you know, I send out an email. So I had a group of supporters, and I send out an email and say, look, I'm coming into my event. I really appreciate all your emails. I won't be replying to any of them, and I'll only communicate one way. So I'll send out an email when I'm ready. I'll send out a communication when I'm ready, or when I have an opportunity to, and don't send me any heavy stuff. You know what I mean? So just being able to set precedents, you know, just dealing with it out of your bubble, you know, saying, okay, what can I control? What can I, well,
so it's
I
like setting boundaries for yourself, and then the outside, and what you're
yeah, it's just controlling that unknown factor of, you know, my grandmother passed away whilst I was overseas, and being able to give me this really sense of calmness and being okay, dealing with outside issues or problems, and having a skill set to deal with them properly, not feel overwhelmed by issues.
How pivotal do you think that was to your success on the water?
So, I mean, Storm and I in double were one of the most consistent crews out there.
Yeah.
We were consistent as hell, always on the podium. We never missed a podium since 2008. We came 7th at Beijing, and then from then on, and we were always on the podium every World Cup, every World Championships. Because we took this planning process, we prepared. We knew how to put ourselves in the best possible shape, form, day in, day out. So we didn't. So, you know, as I talk about these irregularities or these outside influences coming in from the side, we understood how to deal with them because we've already thought about it. We've already said, okay, if this happens, this is how we'll deal with it. We've already had that conversation. that consistency was definitely a part of that whole program, just because of that planning and preparation and leading into an event. Because the whole time was like, how can we be at that start line, the best possible preparation? And then we just, we had a schedule, we had a routine, and we were just able to deliver on that day in, day out.
So what kind of things would you and Storm do in the days leading up to, say, the Olympics to get yourself in the best possible position to perform?
We weighed in at 70 kgs. So lightweight rowing, 70 kg crew average. So, we took food scales with us. We weighed our food. We knew we're going to be at 70.5 kgs. So we knew when you woke up in the morning of that event that we were there. We didn't have to try and lose 200, 300 grams on the day of the event like other crews who didn't plan as well as we did. Storm and I were able to approach an event very like-minded, very on the same page, and had dealt with everything we possibly could have dealt with prior to the event. So when it came to the time of the event, we just had to row. We had addressed every single nuance or issue or problem that could arise and already come to a solution of how to deal with that issue problem. I felt it really great with me under having that real calmness to you when you come to an event, when say you're preparing for the Olympics, when your nerves are through the roof already. You don't need other stresses thrown at you that you don't have to deal with.
Okay, so if we zero in on what was probably the crux of your entire career, the final of the 2012 London Olympics, there was a disruption at the start of that race. Can you talk me through what happened, how you dealt with it, and how you went on to win that bronze medal?
We had a false start. Well, it was a gear breakage. So we all got out of the start blocks. We got about 50, 80 metres into the race, and then one of the crews, the British crew, came off his seat and had a faulty gear problem. You can talk about it. I don't, whether that was legitimate or not. Anyway, the race got halted, called off, or waved in, red flagged, and told them to start again. It was a blustery, windy day in London, and Storm and I had the calmness to just go, okay, look, the start's not going to be immediately. This gear breakage problem is going to take time to fix.
Yeah.
But every crew turned around pretty much immediately and started to row back to the start line. Storm and I just continued on rowing down the lake, keeping warm, keeping moving. And, some crews even backed into the blocks whilst the GB crew pulled to the side of the lake to fix their gear issue. So dealing with that was, Storm and I had this kind of sense of like, hey, we knew how we approached problems together. It wasn't like a situation like this. It's just that calmness of going through it. Okay, well, they're going to take 5 minutes to fix this problem. Right, let's just row down the lake for 5 minutes and then come back. And that's kind of a situation like that was because it gave us the tool set to think about an issue in its entirety and deal with it, even in this high stress, high impact, your heart rate's through the roof, your adrenaline's through the roof. That's what I kind of really liked. So it kind of gave me that confidence in that any problem, any issue that was thrown at us as a crew, we could deal with it in, some of the best possible manners out of our entire field. So we kind of felt like we were not only the best on the water, but also the best off the water.
Certainly they are. New Zealand need to go now. They put a push in now. Peter Taylor has asked, and Storm is responding. Denmark going to the lead. Denmark go goal. And Great Britain in second. New Zealand solid in third. But it's going to be a Danish gold medal. Great Britain takes silver, and New Zealand a thoroughly deserved bronze.
Gutsy performance from Peter and Storm. Difficult out.
That was Olympic bronze medalist Peter Taylor. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope you got some value out of that. I thought it was really, really interesting. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the Junkyard.